what can I say? And I also enjoy working out at home, so I decided to make, this merchandise thing kind of a full-time gig. And I kind of figured, you know what? I'm all right at it. I'll see what I can do. And in the last 4 years,
You're really good at it. I've seen your work.
I've been showcasing you a little bit.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I like being talked up, I guess. But it's interesting because merch design is so vastly different than any kind of like traditional illustration you do. Because when you're doing it, you have to take into consideration screen printing processes, which is not something I was ever taught. So I had to go, yeah, no, I totally know how I got this covered. Okay, what am I doing? And that's another thing. Take this little bit of career advice with you. Never tell someone you can't do something. Just say, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got that. Then go home and Google the shit out of it. YouTube it, whatever. Like, most layman clients won't know the difference, for starters, and you'll expand your skill set. Like, you'll grow that way. And because the second you tell someone you can't do something, the client's mind is, well, okay, I'll go somewhere else. Not, oh, I could learn it, I don't know how to do it now. They want someone who's like, oh, I got 5 years of experience. You're just like, no, I got it, guys. Half of a freelance art career is not knowing what you're doing and convincing everyone otherwise. It's true, especially starting out, because when you get out of here and you go into whatever field you're trying to get into, you're going up against people who've been out there for years and years and years, and what makes
Especially now with this market, sure.
What makes you viable. It's that salesmanship. You think, oh, but if you're talented, you'll make it. I got a very talented artist that I'll share with you today who is stuck doing retail in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's crushed by student loans and has no salesmanship for himself. And he's an amazing digital painter. He should be doing game design painting, concept artwork, background stuff, but he just can't. He just doesn't, he's not putting himself out there. And I know other artists who aren't so great, like myself, who I managed to find something for myself. And it's salesmanship. It's getting yourself out there and being like, hey, I got this, trust me. Just a little bit of confidence, a little bit of ballsiness, that makes all the difference in the world to some people. Like, they won't even question your credentials. I've been amazed sometimes how often a client will come to me for something and they'll ask me for it, and I'll say, yeah, no, I can do it, and I'll think about stuff like this. They haven't even seen my portfolio yet. It's like, they're just taking my word that I know what I'm doing. So.
I've gotten jobs from just talking to people in Walmart.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. You never know where work's gonna come from either, as a freelancer. So I'm gonna scoot up. Let's go up in here. Oh well. But you really never know where work's gonna come from. I always carry my iPad with me. I would recommend getting something significantly cheaper now that there are better alternatives on the market.
They all have iPads.
Samsung has. Oh, okay, cool.
When you enter into the school, you're given an iPad in the school.
I gave up my iPad and went to the never.
But what about sketchbooks?
Sketchbooks, oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Physical media may be dead as far as final output of your work is concerned. But there is no substitute for I call it pissing on a page. Just getting out there, just taking whatever's in your head and just making a mess on it. Just screw it, I start every work day going down to Panera, I get my coffee, I sit down, I draw the people in Panera for like an hour, 45 minutes. I'm sitting there having my coffee, eating a cinnamon roll, watching some crazy pimp and his hooker yelling at the cop in the front. I'm drawing, I'm like, oh, this is interesting today, I'll draw this. And then, You know, like a woman with like 7 kids will walk in, and I'm like, well, you have very interesting legs, ma'am, and your face is oddly shaped, and oh wow, this child's head is really big. You know, you start paying, the more you just draw. It doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter if you like it, just the more you just scribble out there what you're looking at, you start to see the world differently. And you start to see things for their parts more than their wholes. You stop seeing, you stop seeing just a projector. You think, oh, it's a projector, it's a box. I don't know, it's a box with, I guess, a circle on it. No, you start saying, oh, it's got these little knobs here, and it's got these vents there. You know, you start seeing specifics. And the more specific you become as an artist, the better artist you'll be. It makes you attentive to details. It makes you attentive to the things that will sell you to clients later in life. It also makes you more attentive to yourself too as a business person, because if you're freelance, you are your business. So then you start paying attention to what people are thinking of you, because you've started developing this specific mindset, and all that comes from just drawing every day, you know, developing that specific eye. And it doesn't take much time. I mean, heck, you can pass this around if you want. Like, you can take a look through my sketchbook. It's got, I write notes for projects in there. I do thumbnails for what I'm working on. You know, obviously lots of, doing lots of work for heavy metal bands, so it's monsters and Vikings and, all kinds of crazy stuff like that, which is awesomely fun to do.
Explain that.
That is a crazy tentacle octopus thing with some hand drawings and other stuff. It's just draw whatever comes out. Sometimes they take a little ballpoint pen to it, ink it in. You don't need fancy tools really you just draw whatever you got. And also too, it helps if you have a scanner, because what I will do is I'll do all my thumbnails for a lot of my projects traditionally, and I'll scan it in, blow it up, and then work over that. That way I'm not coming into the computer with this like nebulous idea, like, I don't know what I'm doing, like, I don't know, who here uses like a Wacom tablet or something like that? Anyone experience with those? I brought mine with me, so I can show you guys. Are you guys at least familiar with them?
Yeah. I've been bringing mine. What can you talk about your art process when you're given a project? Maybe what's your thought process?
Yeah, the process almost always starts with the thumbnail phase of things.
Hey guys,
the process almost always starts with the thumbnail. It starts with the rough. It starts with the sketch. Peanut gallery. I'm speaking. I do appreciate it. I know I'm really funny and I'm not saying anything terribly interesting, but you could at least afford the respect to listen to me while I'm talking. The process always starts with the thumbnail, always starts with the rough sketch. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to look good. I do 3 or 4 of those, toss them to the client. The client looks at it and goes, I don't understand what I'm looking at. And I go, well, it's supposed to be this. This little stick figure here is a guy, fighting with a giant snake, and there's like some flames around him, and like some half-naked chick in a metal bikini, and your band name goes like right down here, and they're like, oh yeah, we really like that, let's do that. And so I go from there, and then I blow up what I'm doing after I scan it into the computer, and I do a tighter layer of pencils around that, digitally. So that way it's cleaner, it's easier to understand. I work out my details during this phase. Okay, is there going to be jewelry? Is there going to be is this belt buckle going to have a cool emblem on it? Do I want to change the pose a little bit? That kind of stuff. Run that again by the client, because the thing is, the more changes the client gets out of the way earlier in the process, the easier your life will be later. I cannot stress that enough. The last thing you want is to get all the way through the process with a finished piece that you've sunk, 40 or 50 hours into, and have the client be like, well, we really want to make changes. Nothing will piss you off more. And nothing will waste your time more, because your time is money as an artist, because art takes time. I don't know, how quickly do some of you work? You're more the drawer person. How long does it take you to do something?
Depends on the piece. I guess like a couple hours, depending on the size. I guess like, if it's a full-fledged one, it takes a
Yeah, exactly, right? Now, what happens if someone comes to you and says, no, we need you to change the colors here. Well, can you take out this and draw this extra thing?
I'd probably rage quit.
It adds extra days to your work.
Yeah,
And that's an extra day you could be getting
Yeah,
paid.
once you submit a rough to a client, and how long do you give them to give you approval?
A couple of days. With bands, it's a little tough because the unfortunate thing about bands, especially on the local level, is they are, how shall I say it, disorganized.
I don't know what they want.
Even on the national level, bands are actually pretty screwy to work with. It's better if you're working with managers or labels. They're actual businesses. And
Do you do contracts with them?
oh yeah,
I was gonna ask
always.
Can you talk about a little bit when you're done about the difference between local band contracts that you do with a larger record?
Contracts always up front. Always half payment up front, signature from both me and the client. Go ahead. Then final payment on delivery of the project, then a final signature from the client and myself to say it's been done. That way there's evidence that the project has been started, and that it shows that both of us signed. It's signed and dated by both of us saying, nope, this project is started.
Do you watermark your pieces until in between
No.
time?
I
When
don't.
you're
I
shut-
just send out small letters because I have yet to really have a band steal anything from me. And the thing is, even if they have a watermarked image, they're still going to steal it.
Yeah.
They can still
They just
throw
do
it to
that
somebody
for me.
else and have somebody else redraw it. So in the end, watermarking doesn't really matter. Because I'm also a photographer. As you'll see when I get back to my portfolio. But like, where is I have actually a couple of good, like this stuff right here. These are thumbnails that I do, like for bands. Like you can't even tell what the heck those are supposed to be. Like that's like from within. They're a little bit. I know, right? Where is? I know I got another process pic here. Yeah. You'll actually recognize this. This is actually on my shirt right now. You can see over on the far left that. Yeah, you can see how scribbly and tiny that thing is. I started with, I actually have a Playmobil tall ship that I took some reference pictures of and based the general shape of the ship up to get that perspective on it. And then did the basic rough around that, tossed it to the band. The band was like, hey, that's cool. Did the tighter version. The band was like, hey, that's cool. The pencils on the right, those are actual traditional pencils. Every so often, I'll actually print off my rough sketch and do, real pencils on it. That's a preference to me because I've worked traditionally for so long. Whatever works for everybody else, works for you. I've gotten more and more digital as time has gone on, though. I have a really killer set of pencil settings for Photoshop that I use that really behave like pencils, and I tend to use them mostly now. Let's see what else. Let's see, we've got some more process stuff. Here's actually some more roughs that I did for Hair of the Beast. These are a little bit more like tight than I usually send out. Partially because I've just done so much more work, and also partially because I really like these guys, so I put extra effort into it. They're from Daytona. They're like swamp metal, like redneck, like kind of bluesy stuff, and they wanted like this swamp monster and like kind of traditional like southern voodoo imagery stuff, and they ended up going for. They actually ended up going with the second one, like the finished version.
I was gonna say that number 2 looks pretty cool.
Yeah. One thing about T-shirt illustration that's a little different than a lot of other illustration forms is that you always have to keep in mind the fact that it's going to float on a shirt. It's not fitting on a square page. It's on this nebulous, wiggly wobbly shape. That's going to be on someone's body. So you tend to do a lot of centralized artwork.
Think about your medium.
Yep. Always take that into consideration. It's got to be very centralized, self-contained.
Colors.
When I show you the finish of this, you'll see that. There she is. Yeah, you'll see that the black is actually the base of the shirt, so that. Basically, the silhouettes of all these trees on it create sort of the frame.
That's the finish.
Yep. That creates the frame. It's a 2-colored shirt on black. The other thing, or maybe it's 3.
All this is by hand, right?
It's actually 3 colors on black. Yeah. Yes. This is all. No, this is all traditional. Or not all digital. My bad. This is all Photoshop. All done on the computer.
But I mean, like the detail of the monster, like that must have been like very difficult.
Oh yeah. No, not actually as difficult. And here comes another.
How long does
little...
a piece like that take you?
Like your lines are not
Oh.
finished.
One question at a time.
It takes me about at least a week sometimes, because I'm very slow. I do a lot of meticulous redrawing. I'm just anal retentive. It just, you don't get that much fine line work out of it. This is full scale. Like, as you can see, like, it's actually not as tight close up as it looks from afar. Like, you get far back and it's like, oh, all those lines look really smooth. No, you get up close and it's not at all.
Then you pixel it?
600 DPI.
That explains.
Yep. Always work in 600 DPI because I have a shaky hand and it covers up a lot of the shakiness in the line. I had used, this is just a hard round brush, standard hard round brush in Photoshop. Nothing fancy. The brushes you will see on, I'll show you stuff that I've been doing recently, and I'm actually using a totally different brush set for those that replicate natural, like, pen and ink brushes, which I really love. One thing that you'll notice, you'll see that there's like all this fine toning. That's what these little dots are. That's actually a byproduct of the screen printing process. The screen printing is like solid colors on top of each other, which if you want to blend colors poses a problem for the artist. So what I have to do is, instead of having gradients, you guys know what gradients are. You know what opacity is, right? What I do is I actually work on a separate layer above my solid colors with like an airbrush tool, which has a nice soft gradient on it, and I leave that separated until I'm done, ready to finish the project. And once I'm ready to do that, I go in and I can actually convert the airbrush into halftone for printing, which saves you a ton of time as an artist and saves your client a lot of money, because if they can print separate screen printed colors like this, it's way cheaper than printing full color. Because if they had to print this with blended color, that means that the printer has to print full color, and that's like a $600 process. They're looking, $400 to $600 for just a couple of shirts. Whereas with this, they'll pay $400 for, you know, 200 or 300 shirts, easy, if not more than that actually. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. Again, is what's the client's financial situation like? When I was meeting with Michael before, he was asking me what I charge, and I actually vary what I charge from client to client. A big reason for that is because a lot of my clients aren't all in the same financial place. And sometimes I'll want to do a project regardless of whether or not I want to charge the money I should actually get for it. A lot of this is due to the fact that personally, I like every project I do to look like it's worth more than I was paid for it. Because every person who sees it is a potential future client. You know, you want, and there are potential future better paying clients. So if they see work that they think is like, oh, that's a $500 picture right there, you know, that must have taken you 2 or 3 weeks, lots of hours. Like, yeah, well, it did take me 2 or 3 weeks, but I only charged $200 for it. But I'm not telling them that. Because if they know I only charge $200 for it, well, that locks you into a price. You wait for them to come to you and you say, well, what's your project? Well, we want this, and we want this, and we want this. And you go, what were you looking to charge? You know, what's your budget for this? That's my fun phrase. What's your budget? Because almost every band has an idea of what they want to spend. And that helps you determine, okay, what can I charge these guys without breaking their bank? You know, do I know if they're really well off? Are they touring a lot? Do I like them? That'll factor into your pricing.
But they make me mad.
Oh, I'll actually show you an album cover I just finished.
You finished it?
Yep, finished it yesterday, and for a client that actually did make me mad. And
Does it show?
Not for this album cover. It's actually, they made me mad in the past. They actually, they kind of jerked me and my one of my artists around on a banner that we were doing for them, and then they never paid us for any of the work that we did. Like, the banner was done, and they never actually paid us for it.
Wow.
And I was very displeased with them, and I'm like, you know, it's fine, just won't work with them again. You know, it's important not to hang on to a lot of that because it's a long career. It's better to just focus on the next client and just remember, nope, don't like them. They did not treat me well. Well, they came back apologizing profusely and groveling and begging because they hired another artist who was going to work for $150 to do their album cover, and the work he did looked like it looked like oh, it was awful. It was like a 13-year-old did it in like Photoshop 6, you know, or it just is ugly. It was ugly. It was small and gross, and I'm like, this isn't. No one's gonna look at this and go, "We want to buy that album." And they came to me and they said, "Well, we really would like you to do it." I was like, "Well, good news is I'll do it. Bad news is."
Price just went up.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, the other guy's gonna do it for $150." I'm like, "Well, fancy that. I'm gonna do it for $300." And it's gonna be 10 times the album cover because even my $150 work doesn't look that bad. But the thing is if someone comes back to you on their hands and knees begging, even if you said you wouldn't work with them again, reconsider if the money's there. As long as you gotta be mercenary. If there's money in it, go for it. You know. Oh yeah. Oh no. I made sure that they were nice and contracted up well before I got started on it. I was not going to go through that sweet piece of hell that I did the last time. It was incredibly unfair to a painter who works for me. One thing, I don't know if Michael mentioned this, but not only am I an artist, but I'm also an art director. I actually run, like my business is actually not just for myself. I work with other artists too on projects that I can take on or that they're better suited for. Like the painter I mentioned before who is having difficulty selling himself up in Charlotte, North Carolina, he does album covers for me every so often. Because he's amazing and he deserves recognition. And where is, I will show you this is the album cover I just did. This is not, even though it might look screen print friendly, it is very not screen print friendly.
Is that the one you got mad at?
No, this is this is for the client that I was, mad at before, who is paying me lots of money now. You'll notice that this is gonna take a while to read, which is why I'm opening it now. I've had that phase in the project where it takes about 5 minutes to load. Let's see, what else we got? Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff here. Before I started doing digital artwork, my background is heavily in. Which one are you looking at?
Yeah, left and then.
Summer Days?
Yeah! I did this actually for an ex-girlfriend.
But can you talk about how students shouldn't be doing or learning off of anime?
There are ups and downs from learning from anime. The important thing to remember is learn from everything and not just one source. If you're learning from one place and one place only, chances are you're using it as a crutch. You will not grow as an artist. And growth is how you continue to succeed long after you've graduated from school. You are always a student if you're an artist. You need to be a student of everything around you. Like this. This doesn't look like anything that you've seen from me so far. This is cel shaded. It's very anime. It's very cartoony and cute.
It's like the sweet part of you.
Like this was the first album cover I ever did. This is photo manipulation and a little bit of photo painting. Those are not screen print skill sets. Those are not illustration skill sets that I have.